A very good evening. Welcome to Premier League Live for our second game of the afternoon. What has been a busy day in the Premier League, but we focus on the relegation battle for this one. A West Ham side who start the day in the bottom three, but a win could see them overtake Spurs by a point before Spurs play on Tuesday night away to Chelsea. 4 games kicked off at 3 o'clock. We'll tell you the results of those. It was a 2-2 draw in a London derby between Brentford and Crystal Palace at 3 o'clock. A late 2 from Dango Ouattara rescued Brentford after they were behind twice. Ismail Assar and Adam Wharton on the score sheet for Palace. 2-2 it finished there. Everton, despite taking the lead in the first half through Merlin Roll, it was a great comeback for Sunderland. At the Hill Dickinson, Brian Brobby equalised. Enzo Lefebvre gave Sunderland the lead 9 minutes from the final whistle before an added time goal from Wilson Isidore secured the 3 points for Sunderland. Leeds United left it very late, like they usually do at Elland Road, to beat Brighton by a goal to nil. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with a 96th minute winner to seal the 3 points for Leeds. A Leeds side who already knew they were safe, and a Brighton side who were chasing Europe, but the only team so far this weekend yet to that haven't scored Brighton from the 12 teams we've seen in action. And a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Fulham at Molineux. Wolves took the lead. Mateus Mane with the opener before Anthony Robinson scored from the penalty spot just before half time to level things for Fulham. It finished 1-1 there. So, as it stands then at the top of the table, or certainly in that European battle, it is as tight as can be, but it is certainly, we've seen a few teams be eradicated from that. We'll show you the table now. This is the way it looks. So Bournemouth with a chance to close the gap on Liverpool and really secure 6th place if they win against City on Tuesday night. Brighton, with their defeat, stay in 7th on 53. Brentford's draw pushes them onto 52. Sunderland winning pushes them up to 51. So they've still a chance to get European football on the final day of the season. Chelsea, 2 points behind them on 49. They can still mathematically get European football on goal difference, and Everton need a big goal swing if they are to get European football, but they're not technically out of it yet, and neither are Fulham, but it is going to need to be a big dramatic final day for those teams to get European football. But when it comes to the relegation battle and what we're watching this evening, Newcastle taking on West Ham, and West Ham know it's 2 games and probably they need at least 4 points to secure their Premier League safety at this stage. Let's have a look at that relegation battle situation. They probably do need at least 4 points, and maybe 6 points if they are to claim a remaining spot in the Premier League next season. Newcastle away tonight, and then Leeds at home on the final day. For Spurs, they head to Chelsea on Tuesday before Everton at home on Sunday. Remember, Everton could still be playing for European football come that point, so that could be an added mix. But West Ham have to win tonight, you feel. If they get a draw, they need Spurs probably to lose their final 2 games if they are to have a chance. And that's the way it looks for that one. Let's have a look at the 2 teams then for this. Newcastle side who want to end the season on a high in their final home game of the campaign. Nick Pope starts in goal. Kieran Trippier will make his last appearance as a Newcastle player at St James's Park tonight. He starts at right back. Malik Chow, Sven Botman and Lewis Hall are the defenders. Sandro Tonali, Guimaraes are in midfield. We believe Voltemade will play in the attacking midfield role, just behind Will Osula in the centre-forward position, Ramsey and Barnes on the wings. Ramsdale, Byrne, Alex Murphy, Willock, Visa, Gordon, Alanga, Jacob Murphy and Neve all on the bench. Well, for West Ham, who've got a rescue job on their hands, and it is going to need to be 2 of their best performances of the season if they are to survive, and they need results. Hermansen starts in goal. I believe they're going to play with a back 3/back 5 with Wan-Bissaka and Diouf as the wing backs, Tadibo, Mavropanos and Disasi as a back 3. In midfield, Souček alongside Matej Fernandes with a front 3 of Jared Bowen, Crysencio Somerville and former Newcastle player Callum Wilson. On the bench, Areola, Walker-Peters, Kilman, Scarles, Potts, Magassa, Kante, Pablo and Castellanos. So, It is very clear what West Ham need to do. Win and you're out of the bottom three, at least for 48 hours. But for Newcastle, they want to end the season on a high, and they need to win if they are to finish above Sunderland this season. They need 2 wins, because Sunderland's win earlier puts them 5 ahead of Newcastle with just 2 games left. They don't win today, and Sunderland will be finishing above them. Kick-off between Newcastle and West Ham United at St James's Park is next. A very good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for this one here this evening at St James's Park. A night where West Ham know they have to get something. If they lose this, then they could be relegated come Tuesday night. That's the reality of it at this stage of the season. They want to survive, but will they be able to get the job done here at St James's Park? A win is a must, you feel, at this stage of the season, if they are to leapfrog Spurs and really send the North London club packing. Nuno Espirito Santo has really turned West Ham's fortunes around, but 2 defeats in a row in London derbies has certainly sent them right back into the bottom 3, and that coincides with Spurs' uptick in form. It's come at the wrong point of the season for West Ham. But they've 2 games to save their season and to save their Premier League status. A win tonight would be a massive boost in that push for safety. As we get underway, West Ham get us going at St James's Park. And it is clear West Ham are running out of time and running out of points to play for. Spurs are watching keenly, hoping that Newcastle can win this evening and give Spurs a clear opportunity in midweek to win to secure their Premier League safety. West Ham would need a little bit of help even if they do win tonight. And it could go to the final day if things turn out well for West Ham. Could be final day drama. West Ham play Leeds at home on the final day. Spurs at home to Everton. So both sides at home. Here comes Newcastle. Ready with an early start. Quick start. Voltamada. Tonali clips it out to the left hand side, and that's over the head of Jacob Ramsey on that flank. Out for the West Ham throw. Albeit Newcastle have picked up form at the wrong point of the season, just too late really. That 4-game losing streak really just capitulated any slim chances of maybe snatching a European place for Newcastle. 4 points out of the last 2 games has put them up to 46 points, but it's mathematically impossible for them to finish in the top 8 now. And therefore Europe is past them. But a win tonight could get them a helping hand into the top half and a chance to have a top half finish, which wouldn't be completely a disaster. It's a nice ball into Bowen's path here for West Ham. He was well challenged by Jacob Ramsey. He has the ball now for Newcastle. Wan-Bissaka sends him packing. Gives the ball to Matej Fernandes. Now Bowen again. Really feel that these West Ham attackers will be key to them trying to stay alive. Jared Bowen, been the hero at this football club over the last number of years. It's been a while since West Ham were in this sort of position. They want to make sure that they are here next season. Whatever happens, there will be a humongous stadium in the Championship next season. Here is Wan-Bissaka. Lovely cross into the box. Half cleared by Trippier. Headed back in by Disasi, but that one's going to sail behind for the goal kick. As I was saying, whoever gets relegated, there will be a huge stadium in the Championship next season. 60,000 of the London Stadium, or 60-odd thousand in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. In the Championship. West Ham haven't been in the Championship since they moved into the London Stadium, of course. We've been on this really good run of Premier League football for consecutive years. Hold on a second. Well, Asula breaking away from his man there. Cuts it back to Ramsey. Lays it off now. Caoimhan. Barnes flips it in. And Asula was in the mix but couldn't get any contact on it. As I was saying, the last time West Ham were in the Championship was back in 2012. 14-year stint in the Premier League, and the top flight is at risk. Because we see this moment again, it's Asula does really well, just out muscles Mavropanos. Just a little weak. As he does well with Asula, he lays it off to Ramsey. And they keep it moving, Newcastle, until Barnes whips it in here from the right side of the box and just behind Will Asula, who couldn't make contact. Well, ironically, Newcastle have been in the Championship more recently than West Ham. They were in the Championship back in 2016-17. They only spent one season in it though, but that shows you the current situation West Ham find themselves in at this moment in time. Hall tries to guide one in behind for the run of Asula, but that's cut out well by Hermansen. Hold up by Wilson. Cut apart by Bruno Guimaraes. Flip ball over the top here for Harvey Barnes to chase. He's got Todibo on his back. Barnes does well. Finds Kieran Trippier. Guimaraes. Football from Newcastle. Ramsey. Barnes. Trippier. Certainly started on the front foot of the home side. They've got a throw in on the far side there. Well, West Ham did win the reverse fixture 3-1 at the London Stadium back in November. They actually went 1-0 down in that game. Jacob Murphy scored the opener for Newcastle, but West Ham turned it around before half-time. They were 2-1 up at the break. Lucas Paquetá and Sven Botman with the goals. An own goal from Sven Botman, and then Thomas Souček added a late third after some Newcastle pressure to try and equalise. West Ham found a third to seal the deal. In terms of their recent trips to Newcastle, they actually won their last trip to St James's Park back in November 2024. Thomas Souček and Aaron Wan-Bissaka scored the only 2 goals of that game. It's their a decent record. Only 1 defeat on their last 4 visits to St James's Park. 2 wins and a draw in the other 3 games for West Ham. So it's not a place where they have struggled previously. Their away form has been a bit of a struggle recently. Only 1 win in the last 5 away league games. That was away at Fulham. Lost to Liverpool, lost to Aston Villa, lost to Brentford and drew with Crystal Palace. Bouncing ball in behind the Newcastle defence, was chased by Wilson. Souček wins his header. Botman guides that forward. And Lewis Hall off balance. Sees that one out for a throw-in. Disasi to Mavropanos. Back to Hermansen. Pressured by Asula as he gets rid. Header won by Sven Botman. Sent up the field by Mavropanos. Bit of head tennis between the 2 teams here. Chested down by Disasi. His ball fires its way through to Jared Bowen here on the right channel. Got company in Sandro Tonali, who does well to deny West Ham the corner. And Bowen there battling to win it back. Does enough there, Lewis Hall, to see it out for a Newcastle throw. Yeah, Bowen trying to make a nuisance of himself there, but in the end, Newcastle survive. A referee tonight, by the way, Jared Gillett. Our resident Aussie referee. And our VAR for this one is Craig Pawson. After we saw a bizarre VAR decision, albeit it was the referee decision really, in the early game to give Man United a goal. Sula wanted a foul there, but referee said no. To Sassy. Again, trying to find the right channel. Somerville on the chase. Easily dealt with by Sven Botman. The Newcastle side who've had it tricky at home since the turn of the year. Since New Year's Day, they've lost 5 home games, and all of those 5 home defeats have come in the last 7 home games. Only 2 wins against Man United and Brighton in that run. So a poor run of form at home for Newcastle. We will, of course, show you the live table in the Premier League to show you what it means directly. As Voltamara was challenged there by Mavropanos, that will be a throw-in. Or sorry, a corner, apologies, to Newcastle. You can see there's the live table. West Ham staying in the bottom 3 with a draw, but they would be just a point behind Spurs. Interesting to see what would happen depending on that result on Tuesday night at Stamford Bridge. Keeping a very close eye on that one as the ball comes through there and into the hands of the Hammers goalkeeper. Wan-Bissaka into the space here for Thomas Soucek. Driving forward on his own here, no one pressuring him as he finds Wan-Bissaka. Goes for the early cross, but sailed over the head of Callum Wilson. Trippier has it here at his own half. Launches forward. With a slip there from Asula. Allows West Ham to once again possess the ball. Fernandez. A bit loose. Tonali now. Finding Asula and a bit open this game all of a sudden. Oh, lovely from Asula. Breaks away from his man. Sets up a shooting chance, and Sassy with the block forces it for the corner, but the beautiful bit of skill here from Will Asula. He's surrounded by West Ham players. There's 4 trying to box him in, and he just skips past 2 of them. Beautiful skill. And as he strides onto the ball, takes the strike. It's blocked behind by Sassy for the corner. Well, there's a VAR check for a possible handball on Thomas Soucek. They have checked it and cleared it, but let's await this Newcastle corner then. Right hand side. Right footed delivery. Launched towards the back post. Header was blocked from Sven Botman. West Ham try and spring a counter, but Callum Wilson was well stopped. And now Newcastle down the right with Barnes. Harvey Barnes across. Not cleanly cleared as Voltamara tried to hold it up, but Fernandez wrestling with him. He loses out. Voltamara. Tonali now. Hall. Sharp from Newcastle. Ramsey waits for the underlap of Hall, who cuts across. West Ham are able to try and scramble it away from danger. That's well won back by Tonali. Little 1-2s and chested behind by Sassy for the corner, but the home crowd building in noise. Their team building momentum. Newcastle on the front foot. West Ham having to hang on here at the minute. Guimaraes to deliver. Narrow at the front post, and that's headed behind by a Newcastle man. Goal kick. And they check it. They were checking that handball. Soucek does use his arm. Yeah. Kind of got away with that one there, West Ham. Possible handball on Suchek, and he was lucky not for that to be given against him, but maybe they need that little bit of luck at the minute, West Ham. Suchek, Bowen with the header on. Somerville trying to take the ball down, but gets past him, and Wilson does enough to pressure Hall into giving away the throw. Intriguing what way this game plays out. Whether it will be a real slog for West Ham, whether they will try and use their attacking quality to really open the game up and make it much more of an attacking focused game. Here's Voltamara. Got a little excited with his through ball there. Lobbed it over the top, and nobody in Newcastle colours anywhere near it. Newcastle pressing and winning it back again. It's Barnes breaking into the box. Harvey Barnes clips it across. Voltamara! Jolly on the spot. And Nick Voltamara gives Newcastle United the lead. Well won back high up the field by Harvey Barnes. Driving into the area. And across onto the foot of Nick Voltamara, who tucked it in the far corner. And Newcastle are in front. 15 on the clock. Newcastle 1, West Ham United 0. And Spurs fans will also be celebrating with the Newcastle fans, because West Ham United have just taken a massive step backwards in their push for safety. And Voltamara with the finish. Again, it's poor from West Ham in possession. We've seen it a number of times in this first half where they've given the ball cheaply away in their own half, and Harvey Barnes just clips this one across and guided into Voltamara's path, who finds a lovely bit of contact on the volley, side foots it, sweeps it away from Hermansen in the West Ham goal, and Newcastle United lead by a goal to 0. Well, frustration from Nuno Espirito Santo, and shakes of the head from the West Ham players and fans. They find themselves in a difficult spot, West Ham, and they find themselves a goal down in a game they must get something from. Otherwise they could be in a real dangerous spot come Tuesday night. West Ham lose and Spurs win on Tuesday. West Ham would be relegated. Even a Spurs draw on Tuesday night could effectively relegate West Ham because of the goal difference. They have to get something out of this, and they've given themselves something to try and find a fight back from. They've given themselves a much harder task to do it now, early in this game. Bowen and a press there, but that's gone out of play. Well, another look at the table. It's just updated. Newcastle go into 11th over Everton on goal difference, into close to the top half. But West Ham at the moment stay in the bottom 3. They would do unless they win, and they would be 2 behind Spurs with a much worse goal difference, and they would have just 1 game left to play after this, West Ham. So it is desperation time for the Hammers. In taken short by Newcastle, who've really started well. It's been a really positive start for Newcastle. They've pressed on to West Ham. They've not given them much time and space on the ball. Their attackers really haven't been able to get into the game. And Newcastle have done really well at just keeping West Ham penned in, and have taken advantage when they've been on top, getting that early goal. It's a lovely ball into Voltamara, but he was clogged up, but he still worked the ball over the top and needed a bit of a clip there from Mavropanos to say it back to his goalkeeper. James says, come on the tune, just a point v Chelsea as it stands. Yeah, a point against Chelsea on Tuesday night. for Spurs would effectively relegate West Ham because of the major goal difference. A 12 goal swing. 12 goals to separate them. A 6 goal swing will be needed, which is a major goal swing on the final day. West Ham playing a lead side here, tough to beat, as Brighton have found out today. Here come Newcastle again, though it doesn't really matter what they do next week, because it might be over now. Will Asula doubles it! 2-0 to Newcastle, and West Ham are staring down the barrel of Championship football next season. 2 down in 19 minutes, and Will Asula adds another, and West Ham have been stunned by this Newcastle start, and they are looking dangerously vulnerable. And Nuno Espirito Santo's side are in a real spot of bother in the relegation battle. Glum faces in the away end here at St James's Park, as you could expect. But again, it's really good football from Newcastle. Sharp, short passing, really good pass and move football. And it's really terrible from West Ham. I mean, it's awful defending. I mean, I don't know what the back three are up to. They're on 3 different levels. One's staying back, one's trying to play offside, and one's halfway up the pitch. They're not in sync whatsoever, and Asula just takes advantage of the mismatch of positioning in the defenders and sneaks through that gap that is left gaping by West Ham's defence, and he rolls it underneath Mads Hermansen and doubles Newcastle United's lead. Well, Michael Jackson is the inspiration of the Will Asula goal. Doesn't matter if you're black or white. Well, it doesn't matter. You're in black and white for Newcastle United. And West Ham, as I said, in a difficult position. Some have already lost belief, heading towards the exits. I think that's a little early. They can't be going home, surely. They'll travel all the way up to the northeast from London, and they're going home after 20 minutes. Surely not. Well, they've got a corner here, West Ham. And the referee sorting out some issues in the box. As you always see every game now, there's always issues in the box with players when it comes to corners. Let's see this Jared Bowen delivery. Swung in, headed up and half cleared by Newcastle, but they can launch it up the field now, away from any sort of relative danger. Oh, and a miss. Oh, well, they didn't want to make a decision there, the West Ham players. The last man back, and the goalkeeper didn't. Neither of them wanted to go for it. In the head, Hermansen clears, but far from convincing there from West Ham. Here's Bowen. Reverse into Suchek's path, but Tonali there to block it apart. Well, this is certainly not a team West Ham want to be facing right now. A Newcastle side in form. We know we've seen it before with Newcastle, when they're a form side, when they're in their groove, when they're playing football that they know how to win from. We've seen it so many times before when they just get in rhythm. Newcastle, they're such a danger. And that's exactly the opposite of what West Ham needed tonight. They needed a Newcastle side who we've seen over recent weeks and months that have been out of form, out of confidence, lacking threats, as Fernandes has a swing from the edge of the box. Giving it a fight back here, West Ham, as Juff gives away the foul. Seamus says the VAR inconsistencies are frustrating. That Suchek handball was surely a Newcastle penalty, a clear penalty for Chelsea yesterday, not given. The West Ham disallowed goal last week. Yeah, I mean, even the Man United one earlier this afternoon has caused some controversy, albeit an accidental handball, and the goals can still stand via the rules. But I mean, handball's handball, but we've seen that all season. The inconsistencies with VAR, and most recently in the last few weeks of this campaign. Every time Newcastle come forward, they look like they're going to penetrate through this West Ham defence. They look paper thin. that look mushy at the minute. They're playing a back five, but I don't think the five of them have ever played with each other before, it seems, the way they're playing. There's no cohesion defensively with West Ham. They're getting torn to pieces. Lovely football again from Newcastle. That's going to drop and go out for a corner to Debo, getting a last toe in. But, I mean, Newcastle are playing one-touch football between the lines. There's little space to break through, but they're playing beautiful stuff at the minute. And West Ham are on the ropes, to say the very least. They're one goal away from a knockout blow, and a chasm. Swung ball in. That's too close to Hermanson. If they lose tonight, West Ham, as I told you, they need Spurs. Spurs must lose on Tuesday if West Ham lose. And then it'll take it to the final day, but where West Ham would have to win and Spurs would have to lose again. So a loss for West Ham tonight means Spurs have to lose twice to give them any chance. And that's why already Nuno is making changes. Furious with how this side have started. And it's less than 25 minutes on the clock. Already readying some changes. Change of idea. Barnes, Trippier clips one in. A little bit wayward that one. Wan-Bissaka can clear, but again, they get lucky there. West Ham, Jared Bowen went down, winning the free kick, but they were almost in again there, Newcastle. And here comes the substitute, Tati Castellanos for West Ham, and he's going to be replacing Jean-Claire Todibo, so they'll change the system, West Ham. They'll go to a back four. And I would suspect they'll go to a 4-4-2, possibly. That's what I would suspect, a 4-4-2, with Somerville and Bowen just tucking in as like wide midfielders, along with Fernandes and Souček. And then Wilson and Castellanos would be a front two. Wilson holding the ball up, plays it to Jared Bowen, running the trouble of Jacob Ramsey, trying to wrestle it back, does well, but Hall and Botman have it under control there. Back to Lewis Hall, skips the West Ham press, and that's going to be a foul on Bruno Guimaraes by Tati Castellanos. Tati Castellanos just on the field, of course. Castellanos scored 2 goals against Wolves in the 4-0 win at the London Stadium. It's his last goals for West Ham. He's already getting involved in the battling. Him and Bruno Guimaraes are going to be called to the referee here. He's only on the pitch 30 seconds. Already in the controversy. His last away goal for West Ham, Tati Castellanos, was away at Liverpool in a 5-2 defeat. But did score in a West Ham win away from home, away at Burnley back in February. There is only 4 Premier League goals since joining West Ham. Had a wonderful chance against Arsenal last weekend. It was well saved by David Raya. It was a fantastic save. That leaping header. More of a 4-2-4 really from West Ham, because Bowen and Somerville are staying quite narrow for more of an inverted winger type role and being a bit more of a narrow 4 up front for West Ham. Somerville gets back and wins the ball, breaks into space, wanted a foul, is going to get one. The referee was going to play advantage, but He's going to pull it back for the foul on Chrysanthiu Somerville. Well, one thing West Ham can take out of this, that Newcastle, when it comes to holding on to leads, are the worst side when it comes to giving away points. They have given away the most points of any Premier League side from a winning position this season. They've dropped 27 points from a winning position. That is a sensational number. Here's Somerville, breaks forward into the box, cuts it back. Castellanos, good save out of Nick Pope. Still not away though. Fired by Diouf, blocked by Pope again. Two big chances for West Ham, both stopped by the Newcastle goalkeeper. It might ignite them all of a sudden. Matej Fernandez. Right to the left, Diouf. Somerville. That's what I mean, they've got the quality here, West Ham, in attacking areas. But defensively, they're going to have to be drastically much improved if they're going to keep themselves in a fight. The way they've defended in the first 20-30 minutes has been nigh on abysmal. And that switch ball to Wan-Bissaka's a little overhit. We'll see this again. Lovely ball into Somerville's path. He cuts back from the byline for Tati Castellanos, who gets a good strike. Well saved by Pope, and then it drops back to Diouf, who struck it at Pope from a narrow angle. And a good save by the Newcastle goalkeeper. A double save from the Toon stopper to deny West Ham a goal back. Already seeing the benefits of that two-pronged attacking line for the Hammers since Tati Castellanos has come on. The press intense. Headed one by Mavropanos, but picked up by Tonali. Given away to Matej Fernandez. Now Diouf. West Ham having a better spell of it here in the last few minutes. Fernandez. Right wide it goes to El Hadji Malik Diouf. Swung it in. Wilson cushions it across. Souček chests it down. Souček still alive around the area, but he lost his balance and lost possession as Matej Fernandez wins a throw-in for West Ham down the left. Well, West Ham have given a good fight back here all of a sudden. Somerville swings one in. Oh, and flicked wide. It goes. Wilson was in the mix and just over the head of Souček too. Good dangerous ball by Somerville. Onto his right foot, swung it in. Over the head of Souček and then just away from Callum Wilson. He tried to flick it. Couldn't get any contact to it, but another dangerous delivery from West Ham. And as I said, Newcastle lost this fixture at home last season 2-0, but they haven't lost consecutive home league games against West Ham since 1998. So it's been a while. If West Ham can break that record, it will be a major, major boost. But they have a bit of a mountain to climb if they're going to come back and win this one from this stage. Albeit Newcastle throw away points, but West Ham aren't usually the side that pick up comebacks. 9 points they've picked up from losing positions this season. Oh, nice fake there by Castellanos. Wilson, a little isolated, finds Somerville. Needs to square it. Will roll its way towards Jared Bowen. Options in the box if he wants to try and swing it. Little square on for that. Fernandez to Somerville, who stayed central. Wide it goes to Bowen. West Ham fluid in their movement all of a sudden. Trying to keep Newcastle guessing. They need to find a goal while they've got this ascendancy at the moment. That's a lovely ball by Bowen. Fernandez, Somerville couldn't get the clean contact to it. Ramsey does well, calmly finding the out ball to Chow. Right, Trippier down the right hand side for Newcastle. Into Ramsey's path, central. Trying to lay it onto Volteman, and nicely cut out by Wan-Bissaka. Bowen. Held up by Castellanos, and Somerville couldn't squeeze it through for Bowen, who made the run through the middle. He's got it back here for West Ham, and he's won the free kick there. Crescentio Somerville. Well, he would have been desperate for that through ball to find its target in his captain, Jared Bowen. It was just away from him. Ball cut back into the box here. Tate Castellanos occupying a few, and actually had the last touch there. Goal kick. He wanted a corner, but goal kick given. To the disagreement of the West Ham substitute, Tate Castellanos. Well, Newcastle have dropped more points from winning positions than any other side in the Premier League this season, and they've gained the fewest points when being behind than anyone else. So usually they've been their own worst enemy this season. You got to say, Newcastle. Last 10 minutes of the first half. West Ham 2-0 down, but have shown more positivity in the attacking areas. Barnes, though, lobs it over the top. Tonali couldn't get contact, unfortunately for him. Yeah, nice ball by Guimaraes. Actually, it was Asula making the run. Just got behind Mavropanos. He just couldn't stretch at the right point to get hold of the ball. Oh, loosely given away again by West Ham. Guimaraes. Tonali to Trippier. Inside to Barnes. Barnes to Tonali. Swung into the box. Up and away by Wan-Bissaka, but not fully cleared. This one is, though, from Fernandez. Good first touch by Callum Wilson, but beaten for pace by Sven Botman, who deals with that situation. Hall. Ramsey there. Caught by Wan-Bissaka, but referee will play advantage because Newcastle still have possession. Really, it's been a very disappointing first half from West Ham. Finding themselves so caught adrift in the early moments. Conceding two pretty avoidable goals from their point of view. Credit to Newcastle, they came out like a house on fire and took advantage of their really strong start. Now West Ham find themselves in a really tough position in this game. Hall round the corner, finds Ramsey. Ramsey into the box. Jacob Ramsey with a cutback. Put behind by Mavropanos for the corner. Well, it seems like West Ham have had their little spell, and now it's back to normal service with Newcastle starting to control the game again. Guimaraes to take this corner. Right for a delivery deep to the back post, and that one blocked by Mavropanos from the header. It's another corner. time it will be from the right-hand side. And applause from the home crowd to the man who's making his final appearance for Newcastle at St James's Park tonight, Kieran Trippier. Right-footed ball swung in, up and half cleared by West Ham. Had everybody back there. Headed away by Souček, and a bouncing ball for Fernandez to get close to. Souček does well to poke it forward, and West Ham have runners chasing. Pope quickly gets rid. West Ham faltering again in the middle. Cannot get any sort of control in the midfield at the minute. That's an attempt. And Barnes wasn't going to be able to get to the end of that one. Ooh, dangerous for Nick Pope there. West Ham trying to press high, win the ball back. And ultimately works out, and that's going to be a foul. The referee giving West Ham the free kick here. Thomas Souček brought down high up the fields. West Ham, I think, need to find a goal from somewhere before half-time. Otherwise, they're in a really tough position going into the second half, needing a massive, massive performance. But they can snatch a goal before the break here. You never know. They could do the same in the second half and find a way back, but they need to create something, build something for themselves, give themselves a chance. Juff and Fernandez over this. It is Juff to deliver, and swung all the way through it out the other end. Goal kick. Bit of a wasted effort in the end there. Nick Pope will take this goal kick. Newcastle have just been more physically strong than West Ham in this first half. That's really what it's come down to. West Ham have been far too easy to dispossess. Get the ball taken off them. Somerville done well there though. Here's Jewell. I think if there's a player in this game that can change it, I think Somerville can spark a bit of life into West Ham here. He's done it before. I think they're going to need them to do it again. Wan-Bissaka. Mavropanos back to Hermansen. Nice ball down the line here for Somerville. Nice reverse pass, finds Juff. Juff goes for the early cross, but too far ahead of Callum Wilson. And Nick Pope had that under control. Jacob Ramsey. Barnes finds Voltamata through the lines. Correct, telling him to shoot again. Voltamata decides to pass to Barnes. Tonali to Barnes again. Back to Sandro Tonali. That's 92nd of the first 45 here. St James's Park. Newcastle 2, West Ham 0. Third goal for Newcastle would be a massive, massive body blow to West Ham before half-time. Be a killer. Voltamata. Barnes! Right down the throat of Hermansen. Comfortable save in the end for the West Ham keeper, but West Ham under a bit of threat once more there. Gonna have to have a major rethink at half-time, West Ham, about what they do here in the second half to try and get themselves back into this. Because it's been a real... I said at the very start, I wonder if this game is going to be a slog for West Ham and a real tough one for them. Recently it hasn't been like that. They've been dangerous, they've been really, really strong. And a team in form, but recent results haven't proven that and shown that. And at the end of the day, that's what football comes down to. Results. And they desperately need points right now. Bowen swings one in, a bit hopeful. Played by Malik Chow. 3 added minutes at the end of the first half. They just need that little bit of luck, something to fall for them late in this half, West Ham, if they can steal a goal, as Hermansen seemed calm and collected there. Well, Sula on the chase. Fernandez. Again, feeding that ball in behind, but far too much on it for Tati Castellanos to have any chance of getting to it. Easy for Nick Pope to catch. Well, it's not that West Ham haven't had opportunities. 4 shots to Newcastle's 5, 3 shots on target for Newcastle to West Ham's 2, so they've certainly threatened an ample amount, but the 2 chances they had were well saved by Nick Pope. 2 big stops. And the Newcastle goalkeeper sometimes in these type of games you need one of those to just fall for you, to drop in, to find a way into the net. What happened for West Ham so far in this game? Tati Castellanos, good hold up there, but again couldn't make anything off the back of it there, West Ham, and it's cleared away again by Newcastle. But we have a minute and a half remaining of the half. Fernandez, Socek, Disasi, Somerville, a lot of West Ham passing, but not much threat. Want to throw in down the left. Maybe go for the long one, possibly. Nope. No, wait and pop it around again. A bit of wasteless, pointless passing, and then it'll be half time. And that is even worse. Long ball out diagonally, and they've given away the foul on Kieran Trippier. Well, there you have it. Well, there is the half-time whistle. Newcastle started and came flying out of the traps, and West Ham weren't ready for it. Nick Voltemata and Will Asula in the space of just 4 minutes gave Newcastle their 2 goals and has given West Ham a massive, massive mountain to climb at half-time. It will be a huge next 15 minutes to see what they can figure out to try and help this team back into this game. But at half-time, West Ham are in a incredibly difficult spot. Half-time, it's Newcastle 2, West Ham 0. Sure, one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal! Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a 4th, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible.
Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life.
Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half-time at St James's Park. It's Newcastle United 2, West Ham United 0 at the break. Aston Villa won 4-2 against Liverpool earlier the weekend. Man United 3-2 winners against Forest earlier this afternoon. A 2-2 draw between Brentford and Palace. Everton were 3-1. Beaten 3-1, shall I say, by Sunderland at the Hill Dickinson. Leeds 1-0 winners against Brighton, and a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Fulham are the results so far this weekend. But in looking at the relegation battle, which is a massive, massive disappointment at the moment for West Ham, where they are in the table and the situation they find themselves in. If they lose this game tonight, remember, any points for Spurs in the remainder of the season would be enough to keep them in the Premier League. That is what the situation looks like right now. This is the way it is. 2 points the gap between the top these two. West Ham would only have 3 points left to play for, but Spurs would have to lose both of their remaining games for West Ham to have any chance to stay up because of goal difference. Even if Spurs draw one of their last 2 games, West Ham will be effectively relegated because of the major goal difference that is between the two sides. So it is not looking good for West Ham at the moment, but they can still turn it around in this one, and they need to get at least a point out of this one tonight. Even if they do get a point, only a win would deny them a chance of being relegated this week, because Spurs could still win on Tuesday and still relegate West Ham, even with a draw for the Hammers tonight. Speaking of relegated, Burnley already relegated. Head to Arsenal tomorrow 8 o'clock on LFS. Looking forward to that one tomorrow to see if Arsenal can go one step closer to the title. A win and any droppage of points for Man City away at Bournemouth on Tuesday would give Arsenal the title. And remember, the World Cup is back Thursday the 11th of June for the opening game of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. But a big second half to come here between West Ham and Newcastle. No bigger a next 45 minutes than there is for West Ham, because they find themselves right on the verge of being cast adrift completely from the Premier League. They won't be relegated today, but they would be just a Spurs point away from effective relegation if they lose this one. That is the situation they find themselves in. They have to match Spurs' result this week to stay within touching distance before the final day on Sunday, next Sunday, here in LFS. No changes, by the way, at half-time. Both sides coming out as they were from the half. West Ham have to have the next goal. There is no question about it. There's no doubt about it. There's no debating it. They have to have the next goal. Otherwise, this one is gone. And we said before half-time, what do we think they will do? What do we think West Ham will do? We know what they need to do. What will Nuno have concocted at half-time to try and help them find a way back into this game? Side flag up there against West Ham man and Castellanos. It's not only the fact that West Ham have been poor, but Newcastle have been fantastic. Each of their front four has a goal involvement in this game. 2 with a goal and 2 with an assist at this point. So the front four of Newcastle have shone so far. They're shining again here as they're on the move. Voltamata rolls it through for Sula, just a little ahead of him, and smothered by Hermansen. Launch ball forward into the path of Callum Wilson. He was brought down by Sven Botman. It'll be a major disappointment for West Ham, considering the fact that this will be the most contested relegation battle in a number of seasons in the Premier League, and certainly in terms of quality. That's a ball in behind by Somerville. Push in the back there of Diouf. The referee sees no issue. Gives a goal kick, but they want a penalty here, West Ham. Somerville with the ball through, and Diouf. Yeah, nothing in that. Yeah, Chow does well. He kind of slips more than anything there, Diouf. It's not a penalty. West Ham winning the ball back there from the Newcastle clearance. Mavropanos into Souček. Nice Somerville. Somerville back across to Fernandez. Mavropanos to Wan-Bissaka. Mavropanos again out to Matej Fernandez. A little bit quicker West Ham. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Mavropanos. Disasi. Diouf. Fernandez. Looking to change the angle. Looking to find Wilson in the box, but a little heavy for him. Hall is able to recover. He's a little penned in though, Lewis Hall. Have he got an out ball? He does. Newcastle worked themselves out of trouble there. Oh, almost get themselves back into trouble almost instantly. West Ham winning it back high up the field here. It's Bowen, cuts it across. Caoimhan in the way to block the cut back. Trying to drive it down the line is Tonali here. He's got Wan-Bissaka for company. Gets it off to Osula. A clip ball by Caoimhan. Out to Trippier, who's got acres of space down the right hand side. Trippier's deep delivery is too much, but Tonali will keep it alive on the left hand side. Ramsey. Caoimhan. Malik Chow. Rolled on to Kieran Trippier. That's a poor cross from Trippier. As West Ham spring away. Castellanos, he's got Wilson with him, but forced wide by Tonali. Nicely done as Diouf has to go back to Somerville. Now Matej Fernandez, better from West Ham. Fernandez threads that one through. Diouf on the left. High ball to the back post. Brought down by Wilson, and that was fabulously defended. And that's going to be a goal kick as Sven Botman knocked it off Callum Wilson at the last second. Well, Callum Wilson, we already mentioned about his history here at St James's Park. Scored 49 goals over 5 seasons at Newcastle. And scored 6 goals since he joined West Ham. All 6 coming in the Premier League. His last was in a 2-1 win over Everton when he scored the late winner. He scored in an away win away at Spurs earlier in the season. That was also a late winner. Struggled so far in this game, as of really the majority of the West Ham attackers. Now, Sandro Tonali's gone down and is receiving some treatment at the moment, and it might be the end of his afternoon because Joe Willock is the one readying himself on the bench here for Newcastle. Well, the last time Newcastle beat West Ham at St James's Park was back in 2024. They won 4-3. They were 3-1 down in that game, Newcastle. Jared Bowen out of the third, just into the start of the second half, and a late comeback from Newcastle. An Alexander Isak penalty, and then a Harvey Barnes brace delivered a wonderful comeback. And they won by 4-3 in that one, Newcastle. That is, however, their only home win against West Ham in the last 4 games between the sides here. They only won twice in the last 7 home games against the Hammers. And the red card came in both of those games. One for West Ham and one for Newcastle. In 2 separate games. Wilson to Somerville. West Ham away here. Somerville clipped that. Fair challenge, said the referee, as Newcastle defend the situation. Ooh, that was not nice. Newcastle with the ball here with Lewis Hall. The last time Newcastle beat West Ham with both sides having 11 men on the pitch at St James's Park was August 2017, when they won 3-0 on the return to the Premier League from their trip away in the Championship the previous season. Newcastle finished 10th that season and West Ham finished 13th on 42 points. Newcastle finished on 44 points in 10th, so that's shows you how different the Premier League was back then. 44 points was enough to get top 10 at the minute. 44 points has you in 15th. That's where the bar has just been raised in the Premier League this season. The points tallies of all the mid-table teams have just increased, and it's dragged a couple of those Champions League chasing sides down with them. And that's what was the difference. The Premier League over the last number of years, the points tally for Champions League football has massively taken a dip. It will be the lowest it's ever gotten to since the early 2000s, when it was around about 61 points. A minute it could be less than that, depending on what Bournemouth could get if 6th ends up being a Champions League place. When it comes to relegation, the last team to be relegated when getting more than 36 points was Newcastle back in 2016. West Ham at the moment, if they get anything out of their last 2 games, would be the first team to be a victim of a pretty high points tally from all the relegation battlers. There's a chance for Fernandez, but right down the throat of the goalkeeper. Better build up though from West Ham, and Matheus Fernandez worked himself into a shooting position, but flashed that shot right down the throat of Nick Pope. Caoimhan right to the left for Hall. Newcastle on the move here. Flicked round the corner. Voltamana back to Hall. Shot was flashed away by the West Ham goalkeeper, who got both hands to that. They come again though, Newcastle. That ball was blocked by from Barnes' effort. He gets it again though, Harvey Barnes. Caoimhan onto the crossbar. Just over the crossbar. Onto the roof of the nets. Yeah, worth a hit from that sort of range. Just didn't dip enough and in time for Bruno Guimaraes, but it's worth a shot. Ended up not being too far away. And West Ham's away form has been pretty abysmal this season. This would be their 10th away defeat of the campaign. Oh, they've won it back here though. Wilson lost it out. They got caught between Sven Botman and Malik Chow, who both got in the way of Wilson when he got into the area. It's going to be a free kick to Newcastle. Bruno Guimaraes getting very frustrated with Thomas Souček standing over him. And that's sent tensions a little high. And Souček's going to get a yellow card. I'd be surprised if Bruno Guimaraes doesn't get a yellow as well for his reaction. You see it here, he just kind of shoved down Bruno Guimaraes against Souček. Oh, and Souček started booting him. And that's why he's lucky to get away with the yellow card there. Souček is very lucky not to be given more than a yellow. Very lucky. As I was saying about West Ham's away record, this will be their 10th away defeat of the season. They've only won 4 times on the road the whole of the campaign. Actually, equal with Newcastle coming into this game. The exact same away record. Only Leeds, Burnley and Wolves have picked up less points on the road than West Ham this season. They've picked up just 17. Difference is their home form has not been much better. They've picked up just 2 more points at home this season, West Ham, than they have away, which is probably the crux of their issue. Their home form rather than their away form. I'll probably say that about Spurs as well, really, this season. Castellanos again trying to dart that header towards Callum Wilson, but again he's not really been able to get into the game at all. Callum Wilson really struggled physically. Castellanos has improved West Ham in that area. He's added that extra little bit of kind of physical battle quality in the attacking third, really taken on the Newcastle players, but Callum Wilson has suffered in that role so far. Quite lacklustre on the ball today. Newcastle do the mistake themselves there, unforced error. Put it out for the throw. Souček, Somerville skips away from his man, but couldn't keep the ball in play there. It's going to be a Newcastle throw. Well, West Ham are going to make some changes. Going to see Pablo coming on. I'd be surprised if that isn't for Callum Wilson. Or maybe even Thomas Souček. Getting himself out of check, really, for that little moment that got him the yellow card. Wan-Bissaka tried to drive through the space that wasn't there, and Ramsey steals it back. Voltemade to Barnes. Guimaraes out to the left to Hall. So he surpassed the hour mark at St James's Park. Here's Lewis Hall into the area, blocked by Wan-Bissaka, drops for Voltemade. Held up by Ramsey, but West Ham able to clear on the rebound. Again, Wilson tussling and battling, but not much positivity out of that, although they win the throw in West Ham. I think they'll trigger the substitution in a moment. Not just yet, though. Throw in already taken. Souček finding Wan-Bissaka. Now Matej Fernandez. On to Axel Disasi. Down the line to Diouf. Drive it downfield and tries to feed it on to Somerville, but put far too much pace on it. Just needed to kind of cushion that into the path of Somerville rather than fire it into his path. Far too much on it. The cohesion in the final third just hasn't been there so far, West Ham. Can change though. Somerville drifting and driving. Little 1-2. Somerville blocked. I think he had the last touch as well there. It's going to be a goal kick. Better though from Crysencio Somerville though. Driving right at the heart of the Newcastle defence. Little 1-2 with Haji Malik Diouf, and he gets it back. Still driving into the area and hits it off Malik Chow, who blocked him well. And the last touch off the West Ham player. Well, a double sub in coming then. Pablo and Mohamedou Kante are coming on. Thomas Souček's going to be coming off. That will be for Pablo, I'd suspect. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka is coming off, and he's going to be replaced by Mohamedou Kante. So I would suspect Fernandes maybe might drop in to the defence a little bit more, possibly. Oh, massive hole in the back there at West Ham. This is the risk and reward balance they're going to have to find in the final 28 minutes or so of this game. They're going to have to be able to find really good attacking play, but not leave themselves too vulnerable to conceding a third at the other ends. But it's getting to the point where they just have to take more of a risk. But no choice. They have to get something out of this game, otherwise anything for Spurs on Tuesday night would conclude West Ham's season. That's the realistic facts of it. Launched forward by Hermansen, and Wilson deemed to have pushed Sven Botman. That's going to be a foul. Wilson disagrees, but he would say that. Yeah, no intention to win the ball, and just shoves Botman away. Pope launch forward, that's out of play. But West Ham have certainly been given a little bit of respite by Newcastle, but that's not going to help. Pablo losing things in his own half. Asula, Willock, Asula! 3-0. I said West Ham needed to find a balance between attack and defence. Well, there was no balance there. They were all over the place, and Newcastle take advantage once again. Will Asula with his second of the game, Newcastle's third, and that surely should sink West Ham in this game and see them just a tantalising point away from relegation. That is how close they would be. Fury on the face of Nuno. Stunned were West Ham. And Newcastle have been really, really strong today. Fantastic in attack. But it's a mistake by West Ham. I mean, I don't know what planet they're on here. I don't know what on earth they're doing here. That's an awful, awful throw-in by Diouf. Terrible touch by Pablo. I mean, what on earth is the plan? It's awful play by West Ham. Everybody's up the pitch and they decide to play a risky throw-in in their own half. Really, really poor. It's a lovely ball across. And a nice finish by Will Asula. Well, you have to say they need a miracle of all miracles, West Ham, if they're going to stay in the division. They need Spurs to lose both of their final games, and West Ham have to beat Leeds on Sunday to have any chance of staying in the division. That is what it comes down to. If Spurs pick up any more points this season, West Ham are relegated. It's that simple now. They have to beat Leeds. Chelsea will be supported by West Ham on Tuesday, and then Everton will be supported by West Ham next Sunday, as well as they need to beat Leeds. I mean, they need a lot to happen to stay in the division, but I think you have to really argue these recent results have just not done it, and 2 3-0 defeats away from home. That is what the undoing of West Ham. Brentford away and Newcastle away. I'm never going to be questioned about Arsenal at home. That's never going to be where West Ham's season is won or lost. But in games against a Brentford side and Newcastle side, who, even if they'd picked up 2 points from those two games, it could be a very different story. But damaging 3-0 defeats. And what is the undoing of the Hammers? Newcastle want to add more. They feel the comfort and the confidence to try and add more. Voltamata. Now Barnes. Barnes round the corner. Couldn't quite find a target as Disassi there. He's battling. Really at the same time though, it's just been individual mistakes all round for West Ham that have fallen, really seen them collapse. And that third goal, I said it all the way throughout this game, they need the next goal. They had to get the next goal. Oh, Castellanos! Oh, what a finish! What a quality goal! An incredible strike from range from Tati Castellanos. And West Ham might not be dead and buried yet. Well, a bolt from the blue. That is unbelievable from Tati Castellanos. Nick Pope about 10 yards off his line. I mean, terrible goalkeeping, but it's a long kick. It's a bounce, and then Castellanos just takes it on the volley. Fabulous finish. That is incredible. Maybe game isn't up yet. At least they've something to celebrate, those West Ham fans. Up in the gods at St James's Park. I think they would have loved that goal to come before the Newcastle third, but now they might have a bit to build upon. A foundation to try and get a grasp of. I told you already about Newcastle's record. Dropping the most points from winning positions. 27 points they've dropped from winning positions this season, Newcastle. If they were to fail to win this one, it will be probably one of their worst when it comes to dropping points this season. A 3-0 lead thrown away, but still an incredible amount of work for West Ham still to do to try and keep this alive. They need 2 more goals without Newcastle reply, and 20 minutes to find them. Another long ball from Hermansen. Castellanos brought it down. It will be a handball though against Tati Castellanos. Unintentional, of course, but handball was given. You kind of feel that I would argue this game is fairly similar to the Brentford game in the fact that West Ham were very much in the battle in terms of had chances and did play decently well, but momentary lapses let them down. And sometimes that's the difference in the Premier League. Momentary lapses of concentration and judgment. Here come Newcastle again. Guimaraes saved by Hermansen right for the corner. Well, I mean, if West Ham do find a way back into this, I have to say they'll be very lucky because their defence has been absolutely non-existent today. Non-existent. Barnes takes the corner short to Hall. Couldn't find a way through there past Bowen, who's back defending. Castellanos flicks it round the corner, looking for the run of Somerville. It's a bit of a hard job for him to keep that one, as that's hooked away by Newcastle, but West Ham throw. Fernandez. Mavropanos. Matej Fernandez flicks one over the top. Castellanos heads it across, and that one got too close to Pope, but more square header. That could have found its way to Callum Wilson's path, but in the end it found its way to the Newcastle keeper. Oh, another forced ball into the middle given away. Mavropanos. Castellanos here with the ball. Doesn't want to pass it off. A bit of battling. Still alive as West Ham scrapple for anything in there. If they can get something, they want a penalty. Referee lets it run for the moment, but they've given it away again, Newcastle. Mavropanos measures one up, but miscues that massively. Well over the crossbar. Well, there could be a possible penalty being checked for West Ham here. See it again. Is it Callum Wilson? Ooh. It would be harsh. Yeah, it would be very harsh if that was given as a penalty. And it isn't going to be. Craig Pawson checks it and clears it. No penalty. Play on. Yeah, they just kind of collided feet rather than anything else. There's nothing else in that. Wasn't a foul by Lewis Hall by any stretch. Pope with a long kick. Well, those West Ham fans are forever blowing bubbles in the away end. And that's what they're singing. But can their team come up with something positive here? Bowen snicked it back high up the field. Jared Bowen goes for goal. Keeper spills it, but gets back onto it before Castellanos could get there. Well, Bowen done really well. Snatched upon the heavy touch by Newcastle. Driving forward in the shot right down the throat of Pope, who did spill it, but in the end jumped back on the ball quick enough. But I did say, if West Ham are to find a way back, you have to say Newcastle have really given them a platform, because they're certainly not managing this game well enough at the moment, Newcastle, and that's why we're going to see a double substitution from Eddie Howe. Harvey Barnes is going to be replaced by Jacob Murphy, and Nick Volteman is going to be replaced by Dan Byrne. So I would suspect Lewis Hall would maybe go into midfield. Byrne will play at left back, or maybe go to a back three, possibly. Bring Byrne in as part of the centre-back partnership. Go to a 3. Could possibly happen. A 5-2-3 possibly. 15 minutes to go. West Ham 3-1 down. But remember what I said earlier. The last time Newcastle won at home against the Hammers, they won 4-3 and were 3-1 down in the game. Could the exact opposite happen? And it was 3-1 at this exact time in that game. Newcastle got a penalty in the 77th minute, scored by Isak. So could the exact reverse happen? It would be a magical comeback for West Ham if they were able to do it. Fernandez. Diouf swung it in early this time. Flick on by Wilson. Into the hands of Nick Pope. Good ball by Diouf. Good run by Wilson, and just poked it round Dan Byrne and into the hands of Nick Pope. But making more of a threat of themselves at the minute, West Ham. Maybe is it too little, too late? All they have to do is match the Spurs result this week. But even a draw wouldn't be a bad result. It would be a fantastic result considering the situation they find themselves in this game. It would be an incredible result if they were to find a way to level this from some distance. Fernandez proactive in winning the ball back again. Lack of options ahead of him as he plays it wide to Mavropanos. No one really on the wing there for West Ham, as Mavropanos will switch it to the opposite side for Diouf. He goes another early cross. Half cleared. Drops for Castellanos. It's the crossbar. Dropped perfectly for Tate Castellanos. And he decided to put his foot through it. And as he did so, cracked it off the crossbar. Well, that was another major opportunity for West Ham. If they continue threatening like this game may not be over yet. That's another massive chance. The last 10 minutes they've had 5 shots, 3 on target, West Ham, with a lot less of the possession, but their breakaways and transition play has been much stronger, much more dangerous. And Newcastle looked much more vulnerable from those sorts of positions. Pablo digs it out to find the pass. Bowen felt he was fouled, but the referee says no, as Mohamedou Kante is going to be penalised for a challenge on Joe Willock. You have to say, they would feel hard done by now, West Ham, because they've actually had more shots than Newcastle in the game and the same amount of shots on target, but still find themselves 2 goals down. Wasteful in front of goal at times. And also, Newcastle have been quite strong. Willock there from, Murphy, apologies, from range. Caught well by Hermansen. You kind of feel, what if West Ham came out and played a back 4 right from the start? Because they've looked, albeit their defence has been poor all day, but they looked awful in a back 3. Absolutely awful. And since they went to the back 4, it's been a little bit better, but question marks would stand as, what if they didn't have a back 3 from the off? What if they started with a back 4? And albeit if, buts and maybes and all of that, but really missing the opportunity to really find themselves level at this point if things were different. And that's easier said than done. Easy to say. Mohamedou Kante gets himself a yellow card for another foul. Apologies, I'm an itchy eye all of a sudden. Well, we about to enter the final 10 minutes of this game here at St James's Park. Newcastle 3, West Ham 1. Barring late West Ham chaos and drama, West Ham have to win their final game and hope that Spurs lose their final 2 to stay in the league. That is the situation they would find themselves in with a defeat here. Back to Pope here. West Ham on the chase. Trippier a little bit loose there with his play. Castellanos there to toe poke it into West Ham possession. Yeah, they have been a bit sloppy, Newcastle, in the second half, giving the ball away really cheaply, giving West Ham opportunities. Mavropanos fired ball into Wilson's path. Bowen wasn't given a chance to shoot as it was nipped away from him. Again, Newcastle giving the ball away in their own half. Diouf. Somerville. Well, West Ham came from 2 down in the FA Cup against Leeds to get back to 2-2. They ultimately lost that game on penalties, but they can find a way to ignite that sort of hope. They could have something here as Castellanos on the end of another Diouf cross, but this time Pope was able to get to it first. Audacious defending there from Mavropanos, who was being absolutely hounded by Joe Willock. And look at this for a little flick. Here come Newcastle though. Clip back towards the area. Fernandez got something in the way of it. It will drop though for Murphy. Murphy, oh, poor ball backwards, and Somerville absolutely hacked down, but he's going to play the advantage, the referee. Somerville still running. Dragged back again, that's going to be a yellow card. no doubt, by Lewis Hall. I think there might be another yellow card coming out for the earlier thing on Somerville, the earlier challenge. Actually, he's just going to give the yellow card to Lewis Hall, the referee. See it here, Somerville was hacked down by Trippier, and as he got straight back up, he was charging away, and then Hall just dragging him back. And it is a yellow card all day long. Fernandez just got that off to Pablo. We haven't seen much of Pablo other than the mistake that led to the third Newcastle goal. Nothing in a positive sense for West Ham so far, but that's a ball in, flicked on, good save, Castellanos, back across into the hands of Nick Pope. He is going to see Nick Pope in his nightmares, Tati Castellanos, because the many big stops he's made today. One thing you can't throw at West Ham is that they have given it a good go. Sometimes you can say that a team's thrown the towel in, but West Ham certainly haven't. Continue to fight, but as we said, was the damage already done early in the game when they went 2-0 down, really early in the match? Made it too much work to do. Too hard a job, really. West Ham will win a free kick here, offside against Jacob Murphy. As we're going to see two more Newcastle subs, shall I say. Caoimhan Ferris and Anthony Alanga coming on. And it's going to see the departure of Kieran Trippier for the final time at St James's Park. After 4.5 years here at Newcastle, it's his final game at St James's Park, and he is given a massive reception as he leaves the field. A great servant for Newcastle Football Club over the last number of years. Led them to some of the best heights they've been to at this football club. Another story that comes to an end in this late season. And Willa Sula scored 2 of Newcastle's 3 goals. And is also off as well, Alanga and Visa on. Visa with the flick on. Nicely stopped by Disassi. Excuse me. So Chow plays it back to Pope. Pressure on Pope there, but he did well to find the out ball in Dan Byrne. Hall. Byrne. Blocked there by West Ham, and it will go out for a Newcastle throw. Kind of feel the chance has evaded West Ham now. The best of switch balls there. Murphy got a little heavy. Somerville breaking in behind. Crescentiu Somerville. Murphy does really well on the rebound though. Somerville battling back. That one's cleared away just in the nick of time. Diouf there clipping at the heels of Alanga. Beautiful football from Newcastle again. Absolutely wonderful football. Alanga. And they're away here. Willock. Couldn't. Oh, he does drag it on. Finds Lewis Hall blocked. 3 minutes of 90 to go. Lewis Hall. Clipped over the top by Willock. Oh! And put behind by Disassi for the corner. And Kieran Trippier's given an interview mid-match. Speak to him after the match. I mean, who cares? Speak to him after the game. What's the need? He's not going to run away. Corner to Newcastle. Dying embers here at St James's Park. And what could be a game that's decided West Ham's fate, even though it's not confirmed, but could be the day that the writing is on the wall. In bold, permanent marker. They would love to rub it all out and go again, but they would love to take those first 20 minutes back and have another go at it. So that's not how it works. It's going to be a goal kick. Wanted a corner there, Newcastle. I think the confidence of Mavropanos letting that go for a goal kick might have swayed the referee there, but nonetheless, Castellanos. One thing I have to say, Tata Castellanos has been a real bright spark for West Ham. I actually don't know why Callum Wilson started this game, because Castellanos has been the better player for West Ham, and it's another mistake that they made. I mean, this whole pumped up idea that Callum Wilson would come back to Newcastle, and I mean, if that was in the thinking of Nuno, then he'd lost the game before the game had even started, because that you get into fantasy land with that sort of stuff. Is that how football works sometimes? Tati Castellanos has been playing better for West Ham. Just start him. Somerville into the box. Fernandez cuts it back. Diouf clips it round the back. Nick Pope did really well. Watched and tracked the flight of that ball. Got both hands to it at the first time of asking. Last few seconds of the 90 remains. Newcastle 3, West Ham 1. To Willock. Willock trying the cross. It's going to be blocked. It will be a corner. A little bit of frustration there with one of the West Ham players, Joe Willock. Well, actually, it is Bruno Guimaraes. Well, it's actually, I thought it was getting at one of the West Ham players there, but Joe Willock and Bruno Guimaraes are the two that were at loggerheads there. 7 added minutes. And he took the corner too quickly for the referee's liking there, Newcastle. No, it's been taken again. Hall. Ramsey. Guimaraes. Just a little ahead of Lewis Hall. It's going to be a goal kick. 6 minutes of the 7 added to go. Axel Disassi. Mateus Fernandez. Drifting forward. Looking for some late hope. One sliver of a chance. Diouf again with that early cross. This time well blocked. Dealt with by Newcastle, but a shove in the back of Guimaraes is going to get Newcastle a free kick, and Castellanos just too over-eager to win the ball back there. Well, but despite his best attempts, I think Nuno is not going to be able to get the job done for West Ham. But you can't argue that he's turned things around for West Ham since his appointment. It took him a while to get going, but since he has, he's been able to deliver something of a more positive run than for West Ham. They were 7 points off safety when he joined. He's been able to get them right back in a real dogfight to stay in the division. A couple of poor results in the last few games is going to see it maybe just escape West Ham. They certainly had ample belief when they thumped Wolves 4-0. They drew away at Palace and then beat Everton in the last minutes. They thought this was going to be it. They were going to get their opportunities to stay in the league, but they've hit back-to-back, maybe even 3 in a row defeats, it looks like it's going to be now. Whereas Spurs have gone in the opposite direction. Spurs are unbeaten in 4. 2 wins and 2 draws. That's 8 points out of their last 4 games for Spurs. West Ham have picked up just 3. That is the difference. A big difference. Somerville bending off his marker for the moment, still trying to create something, and he will get the free kick as he was absolutely taken out there. I have to say, if West Ham do go down, and I don't want to start getting into this sort of conversation at this minute in time, it's still very early and still not confirmed, so I don't want to be disrespectful, but if West Ham do go down, Crysencio Somerville will be in the Premier League next season. I have no doubt about that. There will be a club that will easily take him for their team. And quite a few of the West Ham players, obviously, will be on the chopping block because Championship is maybe, no offence, but maybe a little bit below some of these players. And I think Jared Bowen would be amongst that list. Castellanos to take this free kick then. This is the last hope chance. Castellanos deflects into the hands of Nick Pope. That really should be that. Still 2.5 minutes to play, but West Ham need 2 goals and a miracle, to say the very least. They're not down yet. There's no doubt about that, but Spurs only need 1 more point at this rate to stay in the division. That is what it will come down to. 1 point. They could get that as early as Tuesday. Disasi showed too much of that, and that's given away. Murphy on the breakaway. Newcastle want to add insult to injury here for West Ham. Beautiful ball across, but Alanga couldn't keep the shot down. Skied over the crossbar. Well, this is going to be a positive result for Newcastle, certainly. When they have been searching for and needing, and the attackers have been fantastic today for Newcastle. Player of the match has to be Will Asula. Fabulous goals. You have to say, West Ham, architects of their own downfall today. And you cannot do that in a relegation battle. You just can't. You have to be incredibly tough to beat, and West Ham were not that today. Certainly not in the first 20 minutes they were. With less than 30, around about 30 seconds to go. We will fully analyse the West Ham situation once the final whistle goes. We'll tell you what's to come and what all is needed, really. Through by Murphy. It's an optimistic one for anybody to get to, and that one's going to go out for a West Ham throw, but it's a little too late to be hyperactive now, West Ham. Hermanson launched forward. Somerville gets something to that. Matish Fernandez in a battle too. That's going to be a free kick, but the final whistle will go And West Ham United are running out of options. They are falling short at the wrong time. 2 goals in the first 20 minutes from Newcastle made it an impossible, really, job for West Ham to come back from. They went 3-0 down before they had their only goal of the game when Tati Castellanos audaciously found the net. But it was too little too late. The damage was already done. And now you have to say the writing is on the wall. Spurs need 1 point from their last 2 games to relegate West Ham. West Ham need a miracle if they're to stay in the Premier League now. They need to win their final game and hope that Spurs lose on Tuesday and at home against Everton next week. That is the situation they find themselves in. This was a game they needed to get at least a point out of. At least to give themselves a chance. But they were beaten after barely a quarter of an hour. And that is damning for West Ham United. Final score at St James's Park. It's finished Newcastle United 3, West Ham United 1. Well. That is a result on the board. And let's show you what that leaves West Ham then. So, this is the situation coming into the week. Coming into this game. Newcastle beating West Ham means that West Ham stay in the bottom 3, stay 2 points adrift of Spurs. And this is what it looks like now. West Ham, with just 1 game to go, are on the verge of relegation. Spurs, if they get anything out of Chelsea away on Tuesday night, it would effectively send West Ham to the Championship. A draw for Spurs on Tuesday night wouldn't relegate them, but it would effectively relegate them because of the massive goal difference. But a Spurs win would confirm it on Tuesday. If Spurs do lose on Tuesday, there is a glimmer of hope for West Ham. There would be a hope that they could beat Leeds and Everton would beat Spurs. And considering both sides' home forms, that is very much possible. But you kind of feel a miracle is needed for West Ham to stay in the division after what we've just witnessed. They knew this game was a must not lose. But they have. They've gone and lost it. And that is the situation they find themselves in. Pretty stark. Right. Well, we'll tell you about that in a moment. But Arsenal against Burnley tomorrow, 8 o'clock on LFS. Arsenal on the verge of the title. If they can win tomorrow, they would find themselves needing Man City to just drop points against Bournemouth, fail to beat Bournemouth on Tuesday, and Arsenal would be champions. That is the situation that lies there. And once this season's all done and dusted, the Festival of Football this summer returns, because the 2026 FIFA World Cup gets underway Thursday the 11th of June, and we will carry you right to the finish line on the 19th of July across the USA, Mexico and Canada for the 2026 World Cup. But the Hammers are running out of time, running out of options, and are falling short of the required results to stay in the division. Spurs need just 1 point to send West Ham effectively to the Championship. After 14 years, their tenure as a Premier League club could be coming to an end, West Ham once again. And Spurs are on the verge of escaping by the grit, by the skin of their teeth. Newcastle get a much needed win, but for West Ham, it's a damaging defeat. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.